I, Alinias, junior recorder of the secretive, observer of parcel 380112, do hereby submit the summary of the recent actions of my parcel to be as accurate as possible from an objective viewpoint. We are the secretive, information is our currency. This report I shall speak of the actions stemming from the 431st day of the imperial calendar to the 21st day of the following annum. Parcel 380112 is only inhabited by two species, those inhabiting the third planet from their star and those of the eighth. Being that those of the eighth planet are still very primordial and are developing under a thick, frozen layer of ice, the notable observational species are the ones called humans. The humans are a bipedal, mammalian species who have not yet made first official contact, nor have real means of interplanetary or interstellar travel. That was, until the midpoint of the 431st day. My ship being in stealth mode and not detectable by all but the 5 elder species, I was quietly observing all my audio and visual channels along with the feeds from the cloaked drones. My proximity alarm sounded at 16 past midpoint. Other interstellar craft were entering through a hyperfold. 10 ships, 8 bulk megacargo ships all over 7 kilometers long and 1 kilometer wide, and 2 corvette-class escorts entered the system, and by their markings and mashing of weaponry and styles, the Badith pirates. For informational purposes to other recorders, their typical operations are immobilizing lone craft with ionic weapons, ransoming off the crews and passengers of the ships, while disassembling the craft for valuable materials and then scrapping the rest. They would also sometimes hit convoys, private or military, if the job was lucrative enough for them. Risk versus reward was their only guiding principle. The remainder of the ships they disassembled typically stay in their cargo holds. Many pirate clans who do similar operations let it float in space. The Badith do not, because they dump their junk pieces on planets at the edge of known space. That way the authorities are less likely to find evidence in the space lanes. I tuned into their communication channels using the splice, their slightly intoxicated captains and comms officers talking back and forth about everything and nothing. The leader came over all channels. There. That one. The one that's blue, green and brown. That one. This will be fun, he laughed. The ships all sped towards the third planet, slowing to just outside the debris field circling the planet. The megacargo ships oriented themselves, aiming their holds towards the planet. A small observation shuttle launched from Leader's corvette. All my channels exploded with various reactions. Some humans were curious, the military humans trying to sound alarms, some were fearful, all were trying to comprehend the reality of interstellar beings finally arriving on Earth, as the humans called it. The leader once again came over comms. Okay, ready? On my mark, and in order, now. Now. Now, he exclaimed, marking the hold openings of the megacargos. Each dumped thousands upon thousands of novinals, one novinal equaling roughly 5.6 tons to humans, into the atmosphere. This wasn't a simple dumping, this was sadistic enjoyment. The leader, a Phyrasian, was marking the openings of the holds with the planet's rotational speed so that the debris, this junk, this scrap, would fall in areas with populations. The spread of everything being random but spread in the generally built-up areas. This was the ecstasy of destruction. Junk entered their atmosphere, the smallest pieces burning up, but the large parts meant for entering various atmospheres spread like a deadly rain over their landmasses. The humans have a colloquialism for this, kids smashing anthills, for their younglings destroying tiny arthropods' granular homes. Their leader laughed at the destruction, large or small, especially when a hull of a Scad pleasure ship rolled over the humans' tall buildings, flattening them in a 3 kilometers long swath. It was the darkness cycle for that city, so the humans there were all killed in their domiciles. The leader encircled the Earth, laughing at the destruction from very low altitudes. When all the pieces had fallen, and the cargo holds were empty, the leader flew his shuttle over a group of humans, hovered over them and urinated on them. He said one word in Phyrasian to them all. Pathetic. When he was done, the shuttle returned to the corvette and the entire pirate crew jumped into the hyperfold gate. I could not track them. As a member of the secretive, we do not follow, we do not alert the authorities unless it is the secretive, and we do not interfere. We observe and we report. The humans spent many of their planetary rotations in mourning, in searching, in speculation, and restoring basic functions. Most were confused and angry. After 3 of their months, something interesting began to happen. The usually fractured humans, divided by imaginary property boundaries, skin colors, religious beliefs, and tiny minutiae of ideas, united. They united in their sorrow and their anger. They began to investigate the debris that shattered their world forever. Various speculations pondered through all the feeds I had hacked, all making correct or incorrect assumptions about various pieces of wreckage. Especially about the SCAD pleasure ship. If the humans only knew what they were actually looking at, they would either be horrified or aroused. Humans are not very hive-minded, each being similar but very unique. The wrecked pieces had various stages of damage and functionality. Some of the humans began to figure out the systems of these. I do confess, this one time, out of my 126 annums of service to the secretive, Archivist Prime, I did interfere. I remote-activated a translation assembly and a data core and data screen on a research vessel, providing them with the means to access information. I did this, Archivist Prime, because conflicts between contacted species are one thing, or interspecies conflicts another, but this angered me, similar to the asteroid rain the Recce did to our homeworld. I apologize for letting my emotion slip, you're versed. The data cores were standard, only telling them what the humans were looking at, not their individual components. The humans figured it out quickly. The humans learned everything they could, asking the data core to teach them everything, even how to replicate and download the data core. The data core, being a limited AI, downloaded itself into the human's internet, using every piece of human technology as both data storage and processing functions. The humans adapted very quickly to their new era and their new information. Some learned exobiology, some exolinguistics, about plants, animals, customs, fashion, everything. Some humans in their weeks had a depth of knowledge of a subject that would rival a junior special archivist. They began to build, too. When I said humans adapt and learn very quickly, I mean it. Given the knowledge of what they were looking at, many of their nations, as well as individuals, began to copy the junk, or rebuild the junk with their newly acquired knowledge and what they could replace pieces with from around them. Their imaginations, as I have observed and investigated, are boundless. Especially those who were deemed afflicted before, those dopamine deficiencies or had sensory and emotional processing problems. I had submitted my reports on human physiology, entitled ADHD and Autism, Archivist Prime. Also, see subgroup report Rural and Economically Bereft Humans, this will be referenced. Their builds would give most species organ failures. Their ignorance of safety measures that aren't included on standard data cores showed. They connected pieces that no other species would think to put together. One human male, a hillbilly, as he referenced himself, connected a cluster of 6 solar engines from a Heavanax light destroyer to a power plant using antimatter to annihilate element 336, with a Morlas beam cannon directly mounted underneath the power module and the cockpit of a pilotable escape pod. It measured a mere 17 meters long. Together this made this craft border the limits between hyperspeed and sublight speed, virtually zero recharge time on the beam cannon, but very vulnerable. The only piece of safety equipment was a helmet designed for a terrestrial, powered vehicle on 2 wheels. Another made a sloop that could rearrange its components to be a walking, pilotable armored suit. An entire state in the region of North America came together with wreckage pieces and built what would equate to a heavy armored cruiser. They named it the State of Ohio. Their manufacturing facilities began churning out ships, their institutions of learning creating instructions and reference materials, designs for ships or parts, and occasionally improving upon the original designs. Their militaries united, settled on a common language and began training crews. Crops were harvested and stored for travel. 6 of their months and 4 rotations after they were attacked and degraded by the Badith, their first ship achieved fusion and made a hyperspace jump from their moon to the 6th planet and back again. Heavily armored ship carriers and troop transports, light attack craft and brawler-class ship-to-ship battleships. When they were done, only 3 novinals of debris had not been reused, repurposed or recycled. The scrappers were outscrapped by humans. All in all, they made 328 craft manned by 186,000 of their species and using multiple sources of data, launched on the same trajectory as the Badith pirates. I continue, Archivist Prime, observe the humans on Earth until my directive changes, however you will need a reorder to follow the human fleet. All the knowledge is sacred. Submitted on the 21st day of the annum 61206 of the imperial calendar by junior recorder Alinas. Alinas let out his version of a sigh, waves of emotions finally allowed to shown. Recorders were supposed to be emotionless in their emotions, but he felt for the humans. Even though he was barely on the cusp of birthling and youngling, he remembered the attack on his homeworld. He had never made it past junior recorder because he had showed emotion. He poured a cup of hot liquid into the 4-shaped cup. He might get demoted again for remote activating the data core. Out of the 83 species he had been assigned to for various amounts of time, the humans were quite honestly the most interesting. He sympathized with them, found them endless imaginative and amusing, constantly surprised by their most selfless actions and their lowest debasement. Archivist Prime will say I have spent too much time here and have gone native. He didn't care. He didn't much care for the secretive anymore either. He sighed again, his bulky frame and reverse-jointed legs settling back into the reclined chair or table and his constant variety of audio and visual data. On the 294th day of the annum, Alinas received an encoded message from his friend and former schoolmate, Penia. It was a video of her. Hey, Slackskskat, I got assigned to your humans. I read your report as well. You weren't wrong. They are a very, very lively and interesting bunch. By the books, they are interesting, she said, in disbelief. Their tactics are unheard of, their ships are borderlining a mental illness and, they are brave. Bravest of a species new to travel. I would rank them with Shatarian warriors any day of the annum. Here I will show you with commentary and context. She was the lowest of the junior recorders because despite all the conditioning, she always showed her emotions, but kept her position as a junior recorder because of the quality of her observations. After visiting several species new to them and making first contact, their linguist scholars and exobiologists visited several homeworlds to supply if they could and get information of the Badith. They tracked them outside of the Ravestyler system. The video flicked to footage. The human ships jumped within kilometers of the Badith. Within seconds, the carriers opened their bay doors, releasing all their light craft and the Hillbilly in his very unique spacecraft. The Hillbilly's craft moved at membrane-shattering speed, its beam cannon cutting through both the corvette's engines before attacking the mega-cargo ships. Massive kinetic and energy rounds came from the capital ships. The destroyers sped to block off the mega-cargo ships from jumping while the battleships, heavy and light cruisers pummeling them. The light attack craft brought down the corvettes in minutes. Wait for it, here's the best part, Penia squealed. The Phyracian shuttle shot out from underneath the corvette, going underneath the mega-cargos and trying to slip through the chaos. It slowed slightly as the engines charged for the jump fold. Just then the Hillbilly caught up to them in an instant, beam cannon firing its white-blue plasma. It caught the engines and shredded them, the beam continuing up and cutting it nearly in half, lengthwise. The shuttle floundered for a moment, then exploded when it was hit by a massive kinetic shell from the carrier. Boom, she exclaimed. They continued to fire on those ships until they were the size of ration snack discs. There was a lot of chatter then amongst the humans. They then sent a message of all channels and frequencies to the entire core systems. She looked down and hit a button on her console. A female human's voice spoke with authority and frankness. We are the humans from the planet Earth. If you come in peace and friendship, we will greet you with peace and friendship. If you come with bad intentions, we will greet you with death. The scrappiest scrappers in the known verse. I feel like one of their television parents when their kids have grown and gone out on their own. However, what have I helped unleash into the universe?